into the Indian Ocean, down to one.
Good shot on.
And we're in the water. And it's a soft splashdown in the water.
Humanity has been launching rockets since the 1940s, nearly 7 decades into the space age, and there's still one basic skill we haven't nailed: transferring fuel between 2 spacecraft in orbit. And now SpaceX wants to nail it on a vehicle that just pulled off its first ever soft landing in the Indian Ocean 2 days ago. Flight 13 just flew, and it wasn't just a success, it was history. For the very first time ever, a Starship made a soft splashdown in the Indian Ocean, gently lowering itself into the waves under power instead of the usual chaotic crash and burn we've come to expect.
Did our flip down to 2. Starship descending into the Indian Ocean, down to 1. And we're in the water. And it's a soft splashdown in the water. That is a first.
This wasn't just a test flight, it was a full-blown highlight reel. And Elon Musk clearly agreed. Hours after splashdown, he hopped on X and dropped a one-liner that basically confirmed what everyone was already thinking. Unless we discover problems after mission data review, SpaceX will attempt to catch the ship with the tower on next flight. Read that again. Not the booster. The ship, the part that's been to the edge of space and back, survived re-entry, and still has to thread itself into a pair of mechanical arms doing over 100 miles an hour. That's the confirmed headline for Flight 14. But that's just the opening move, because behind that one tweet is a much bigger roadmap, and Flight 14 is the first real step onto it. The booster had its own moment on Flight 13 too. It made it back down to a splashdown point in the Gulf after the previous flight's booster couldn't. It wasn't perfect. SpaceX's own commentary confirmed not all the landing burn engines lit, so it came in harder and faster than planned. But it survived, and that's one more data point banked before the real test, bringing this next-gen booster back to the tower for a catch of its own.
Just heard the call out for landing burn startup for the booster. I have a feeling the crowd's about to go wild here.
And another awesome landing for Super Heavy. Congratulations to all the teams here at Starbase and at our SpaceX team. An amazing, amazing view.
So here's the confirmed part. Flight 14's headline objective is catching the Starship upper stage, the ship itself, with the tower for first time ever. SpaceX has caught the Super Heavy booster before, sure, multiple times since 2024. But catching the actual upper stage, the part that's been to orbit and back, survived re-entry, and still has enough control left to thread itself into those chopstick arms, that's an entirely different level of difficult. Picture the least chill game of catch in human history. The ball is a skyscraper. It's on fire. It's descending at supersonic speed. And the 2 guys playing catch are named Steel Arm and Physics. If it works, it's one of the most insane feats of engineering aerospace has ever produced. If it doesn't, well, we've all seen the highlight reels. SpaceX's blooper compilation has more entries than most studios' actual filmography. But the tower catches in the finish line. It's the gate. Because sitting right behind it is the actual reason any of this matters. NASA has Artemis 3 penciled in for 2027. Artemis 3 has been reprofiled as a crewed low-Earth orbit dress rehearsal. A 4-astronaut crew launching on the SLS rocket in the Orion capsule, rendezvousing and docking with prototype lunar landers from SpaceX and Blue Origin, running hardware and hatch verifications over roughly 2 weeks in orbit, all while streaming 4K video back to mission control over Starlink laser terminals. It's the dress rehearsal for the dress rehearsal. And Starship has to prove a few things before it can even show up to that stage. 3 impossible milestone Starship still has to clear on future flights before Artemis 3 becomes realistic. First, stable orbit. Every Starship flight so far has been what's politely called suborbital, which is rocket speak for we go really, really high and then come back down before technically completing a lap. At some point soon, one of these flights has to be the one where Starship actually stays up there. It sounds like a formality. It is not. It's the difference between a very expensive skipping stone and an actual spacecraft. Second, rendezvous and docking. Starship has to find another object in orbit and gently, precisely connect with it, while both are moving at orbital velocity in a vacuum with zero margin for, let me just nudge it a bit. Docking in space is the automotive equivalent of parallel parking a bus, blindfolded, while the parking spot is also driving. Third, and this is the one that should actually keep engineers up at night, cryogenic propellant transfer, moving supercooled liquid methane and oxygen from one ship to another in zero gravity. Here's why it's brutal. In zero gravity, there's no down for fuel to settle toward, so propellant just floats and sloshes unless small thruster burns gently settle it first. On top of that, the fuel constantly wants to boil off and degas the moment it picks up any stray heat, which can trigger pressure spikes mid-transfer. SpaceX already tested a scaled-down version of this back in 2024, moving fuel between two tanks on the same ship. Moving it between two separate ships docked in freefall is a much bigger leap, and current plans call for it to be its own dedicated multi-launch demo. Flight 14 isn't a mission where SpaceX does all three of those at once. Let's not oversell it. What Flight 14 is the mission that proves the ship can come home. And every one of those three milestones after depends on that same recovery technology working flight after flight before NASA will trust this hardware anywhere near a crewed Artemis mission. Here's the part that's easy to lose in all the fireballs. This isn't just content for space nerds. There's real money and a real deadline attached. SpaceX recently went public on NASDAQ, and Wall Street has been watching every single engine light, literally. When Flight 13 aborted at the last second during its first launch attempt,
We'll take a little bit of time to look into what triggered that abort. Usually we'll take some data review for all of our teams. No Starship launch today. We'll dig in with the teams, figure out what happened, and figure out when our next attempt is going to be.
the stock dipped. Investors are not sentimental about rocket science. They just want fewer explosions and more moon landings, ideally in that order. And with Artemis 3 on the books for 2027, orbital refueling isn't a nice-to-have science experiment anymore. It's a bottleneck for the entire program. If Starship can't prove it can dock and share fuel in orbit on the flights leading up to Artemis 3, the timeline doesn't just slip a little, it slips a lot. So when people say SpaceX is attempting the impossible, it's not just a catchy title. The tower catch on Flight 14 is the first real test of whether this whole roadmap is even achievable. Drop your prediction in the comments before it happens, and let's see who actually called it.